episode 5 of Game Changers. We're so excited to be here. I can't believe we're so
I know,
This
we're
is
back.
crazy.
We are back. We got an exciting episode planned in the rotation today.
I'm so excited. I'm nervous excited. I was just so excited. I don't know.
The exciting stuff is going to happen later, but as per usual, we've got to do our news segment.
Housekeeping.
News. Before we jump into that,
Where can they find us?
at Game Changers ETB on all social media. So if you're not following us, please follow us.
Hit us with the follow.
Hit us with a follow. Hit us with a little, maybe a like and a comment. That'd be cool.
I was going to say all those YouTubers was hit like, comment, and subscribe.
Well, you can do that on the YouTube channel at ETB Network, or I guess it's not at, just youtube.com/ETB Network, where you'll see this and all the other podcasts done by the network. They're all really good. So if for whatever reason you're like, I don't really want to watch Kelsey and Mac today, that's fine. Watch somebody else.
You're lost.
Yeah, you're lost, but watch somebody else, I guess.
All right.
Yeah, ready?
News? Let's
News.
go.
Let's jump in. Let's get it
All
going.
right. The PWHL Minnesota is being investigated by the league for allegations stating a toxic work environment.
Yes. So interesting that
Scandal.
scandalous. Interesting that we just talked about a toxic work environment in the NWSL,
And now we're
talking about a potential one in the PWHL. So if you don't know, the PWHL, the Professional Women's Hockey League, started last year, and Minnesota won the championship. They won the Walter Cup. That's what they call it, instead of the Stanley Cup for
Walter Cup.
NHL.
One of
It's
my
the
old
Walter Cup.
coworkers plays in the women's professional hockey league.
Oh, that's cool.
Fun fact.
That is a good fact. So the allegations came against Ken Klee, who is the head coach, and there's a lot of stuff about this guy. One of the things that I think is really interesting is that when he didn't originally get hired for the job, some other guy did, and then that guy quit or couldn't coach.
Wasn't good enough.
No, I don't think it wasn't good enough. There's probably a situation about it. I don't know what it is, but he stopped being the coach of the team a week before their season started. So Klee took over, and when he was interviewing, he wanted to be the general manager and the head coach, but that didn't happen. Another woman named Natalie Darwitz was the GM, but she was recently fired, which is another whole part of this story, but we might skip over that just for right now. Basically, the allegations come and they say that he used the R word, which you shouldn't use the R word.
Big no-no.
Big no-no around these parts. He was he gave a younger player the nickname Dumbo, and he made comments about another player's race during film and told the less talented players they were taking away reps from the star players in practice. So basically, if you weren't Kendall Coyne Schofield, you weren't getting playing time or you weren't being treated fairly. That's kind of how it came. It comes off cross on paper to me.
Yeah, that is. You can't say that. You really can't
do any of that, really, truly.
It's interesting though because obviously you cannot say the R word, and then if you're ever going to talk about someone's race, you're done. You might as well just chalk up your job. And then saying that you're taking away reps from the star players, that's weird. Nickname Dumbo though, I'm very curious how that one was. Is it coming off their personality, or is it I'm Dumbo with the big ears? Are they making fun of her ear? I don't know.
I don't know. I would assume it's because he must have thought she was dumb.
Little loose screws in there.
Either way, not a good place to be. And this is kind of, I really feel the first kind of
thing with the for the women's hockey league.
Yeah, their first kind of big scandal. So it's even more interesting how they respond versus how the NWSL responds to the San Diego Wave stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But if they do this investigation and find that it isn't true, we might see some NWSL showing
potentially.
But if they do a good investigation, or if they do an investigation and do find that this is what is,
it would need to be a good investigation.
Well, it would need to be.
You can't half-ass this investigation.
You can't half-ass any investigation. But
facts.
So they're kind of at a crossroads, I would say, and they need to figure it out and get it together, and hopefully
too true.
Fun fact: I was writing about this for a freelancing thing that I do, and the director of game day ops for the PWHL Minnesota looked at my LinkedIn, so I was like, oh no, did I do something wrong? Is she mad at me, or are they mad at me? I don't know.
Maybe.
Who they are really truly, but it was kind of scary for a moment. I was like, uh-oh, I'm getting sued.
No.
We're good. Anyways, moving on. This one's fun. Do you want me to just say it?
The Seine.
Yeah.
Seine.
The Seine.
Next.
So the mayor of Paris went swimming in the Seine River. So this is
Just a quick dip.
just a quick little dip, but this is like this
Toe
is
in the water.
crazy because the Seine River is like unbelievably polluted, or at least it was.
Super polluted.
Yeah, in all capital letters. That's what our
Sab does our write up, and whenever something's important, she just does it, and it's super polluted.
So they're supposed to host like these outdoor swimming events, like swimming part of the triathlon and stuff like that.
In Paris.
And yes, in the Olympics in Paris. But swimming in the Seine has been banned for over 100 years because it's like so dirty and gross.
So raunch.
Yeah. So a lot of people in Paris were basically complaining that the river was so dirty and how are they supposed to clean it? And then they were like, oh, well, we're going to clean it so they can swim in it for the Olympics. But then all the people in Paris are like, well, why didn't you clean it however long ago?
Many years ago for us to just go for a quick dip.
Yeah, and you make us pay these like tax dollars, and we've been paying them for so long, and now you're cleaning the river after, however many years. So they were all going to protest and throw poop in the water. But basically the mayor, her name is Anne Hidalgo, she was supposed to go swimming, I think like a couple weeks ago, but the water wasn't,
I got that. Oh, sorry.
The water wasn't clean enough at that point for her to swim. So then she was like, okay, postponing, I'll go swimming later. And she did her swim like yesterday or 2 days ago. And basically, I don't really know what it takes to like clean the water and like what the standards have to be. But I was watching a TikTok and this girl had said that like for 10 of the last 12 days, like whatever the water levels are and the chemicals and whatever, it's been like consistently clean. So
interesting.
We'll see how it goes.
No, yeah. Our bestie Nick behind the scenes just hit us up with this little fun fact. It said, after emerging and continuing to rave, the water is very, very good. A little cool, but not so bad. She also said today was a dream and a testimony that we have achieved a lot of work, referencing the city's swimming plan that was launched in 2015. So almost 10 years later.
Almost 10 years later, you finally cleaned.
She said, we got our get back 10 years later.
So that's just kind of fun, I guess. Happy that it's like clean because I really was getting a little worried when I was thinking about it. And
were you actually?
Yeah. If I was Olympian going to Paris and my event is I have to go run the triathlon and I have to swim in outdoor water and it's got poop all in it, what am I doing? I wouldn't go.
You wouldn't go to the Olympics?
No, God, no. If I had to swim in poop water, no, I wouldn't go to the Olympics.
I feel like if you've worked that hard.
No, not for. I don't care how hard I've worked. I'm not swimming in poop water.
Me personally, I'm not saying I would, but like if I worked for that hard of my life to get to the Olympics, I would make it happen. I don't know.
I wouldn't. I couldn't. I'll wait till LA. The water's probably not even that much better.
In LA, I was gonna say it's like fucking droughts over there. Sometimes.
I don't know where they'll have them swim in LA. I guess in the ocean. Right?
I don't know, but let me tell you, if I'm not in LA for the not Paris, if I'm not in LA for the Olympics, like if we're not there, we messed up.
How are we getting there?
We'll figure it out. We have 4 years to budget.
To budget money or budget a plan to join a team?
Both. Oh no. Well,
are we doing an event or are we just going to be spectators?
Lacrosse will be in the 2028 Olympics.
It will be in the Olympics. You're so true.
I'm not making a team. Are you kidding me? Hello? Look at me.
You got it, babe.
Thanks, dude.
You're not washed up.
Oh, please. If you want to talk
about washed
up, go watch episode 4 and then come back.
No, I think we should go there as journalists and just do our thing.
Let's podcast live from LA.
Oh shoot. That'd be a fun.
We're getting too excited. We've got time to figure it out.
Let's get through Petty first.
All right. Now that we've talked about the Yucky River, last piece of news before we jump in.
This is
just a quick one. This is just a quick one.
Your toe is like.
Am I touching you? Sorry, I don't mean to. I'm just sitting.
Long story short, Kelsey has the worst goddamn couches in her apartment. I hate them more than anything. Every time I walk into my apartment and I see these couches, I get immediately mad. That's how much I hate them. And they're so uncomfortable, and you can barely fit. I am small. Sab is small. We are small, short humans. You can barely fit on them. So when we have our guest for coming up next, where there's going to be 3 of us like this, that's how we're going to go sit on this couch. And I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it.
Next. We're making the best of it. This is our studio. You got to be nice to it.
I don't even have to say anything, but.
Yeah, please don't interrupt. Take your sip and then I'll talk. Thank you. All right, now we're talking about Wimbledon. Wimbledon just ended, and I'm going to butcher your name. I'm so unbelievably
There's tennis
apologetic.
on the TV right now, too. That's so crazy.
Yeah, but this is not. This is about Serena Williams or something, right? This is like see,
It's the sisters.
Told you,
Sister.
sister. All right, Barbora, unless it's Barbara. It's Barbora on my notes. How do you?
I'm not gonna attempt the last name.
I'm gonna Krejcikova.
Krejcikova wins the 2024 Wimbledon Women's Singles. Hey now.
So sorry if we butchered your name, but we really tried our best. She beat Jasmine Paolini and won, and that's kind of it.
That's all she wrote.
That's all she wrote.
That's all she wrote. She won.
She did it. Good for her.
Did the damn
nice
thing.
to see people who aren't like the most talked about winning. You know what I mean?
Love an underdog story.
Exactly.
Would you call her an underdog?
Yeah.
Word. I love an underdog story.
Slay.
Always root for the underdog.
All right. And that's news. Well, here's a news off the rip that I saw this morning.
Wow.
Caitlin Clark broke the single game assist record
I did see that.
last night.
I'm still an Angel Reese fan though.
That's okay. You're allowed to be.
I am.
But she did that. So shout out Caitlin Clark. And
She
now
did do
her
that.
odds to win Rookie of the Year are like plus 2,000 or something. So good
Mm.
for her. All right. News is done. Over it.
Done.
Dunzo.
We're gonna take a little quick water break and hydrate or dihydrate.
Everybody drink up.
And when we come back, we will have our first guest, and I'm so excited. So can't wait for you guys to meet her. Before we get to our guests, we have to hit you with our lovely ad.
Woo!
Playback! We laminated it. We're official now because we
Yeah.
love you guys so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Playback.
Presented by Playback. Watching sports is more fun with others, but we spend too much of our time watching alone. Playback is a
Amen.
virtual space where communities can stream live sports together with everyone perfectly synced up. Creators can hop on stage, deliver their own play-by-play analysts and commentary, and invite viewers up for a Q&A. Playback makes watching sports fully interactive and a social experience. From playing fantasy sports, repping your favorite team, players and teams, and watching with the communities. That's wrong. We're going to fuck that up. We fucked it up.
It's okay. Just keep going.
With the commentators and communities you care about. Win or lose, sports are best enjoyed together. Join our community by going to playback.tv/ETB network to find out more, including our live stream schedule.
Woo!
Yeah, that was my worst one. I'm so sorry.
It's okay. Guest time. Here we go.
We got a guest. Welcome back, guys. We have our guest, Scout
Woo!
Lively. I'm so freaking
Yay,
excited.
Scout!
Okay, Scout is literally one of my favorite people in the world. I tell you this all the time. I have known Scout, oh my gosh. So Scout played lacrosse when I was also playing lacrosse. I am older than Scout, so when I was a senior in high school, I think, or like just graduated, you were in elementary school. No,
That's
middle
cool.
school. Middle
That's
school.
crazy.
I meant like 6th grade, 7th grade. Like
Yeah.
that way. That's what I meant. So like 7th grade, and I worked at camp at the school I work at, and she was one of the kids boarding here, and she was just the absolute best. And then
I was too scared to like do anything I shouldn't do. So I kept
she was
quiet.
like, she was so easy. Like I had like one of her other coaches, we joke about it all the time. I'm not gonna say her name, but like was with her yesterday, and she made my life a living hell when I was here. I was like literally one of the dorm parents, and she left the dorm to go kiss another guy, and I was like, dude, get back in here. Did not have that problem with Scout
for many reasons.
for many reasons, which we'll get into.
And I just met Scout. Yeah, like this summer.
Yeah, no, I introduced her to you in May?
Oh well, yeah.
Yeah.
Sure, I did meet
In
Scout
May. But no, Scout is truly one of the most lovely people I have ever met. I tell people all the time, though she is younger than me, the maturity level she has, like when she talks, you just want to listen. Like everything about like her voice. I have the fattest girl crush on Scout. I am not gay, but I always joke around, and I didn't even know this. She calls me her work wife apparently, but I'm not gay. But if I was, like, Scout's who you want to be with. Like she's just like the epitome of a great person.
I don't think the exes would agree.
That's their loss.
That's
So-
their loss. So true.
But also just in terms of like, obviously she's great as a human being and she's like one of the kindest people you'll meet, but also in the sport realm, she does so much for these athletes and women in sports in general. And then also the way she coaches, like I'm learning things from her. I'm sure she's picked up things from me as well. And it's great. Literally these two people, I trust them with my defense right here. Like anytime I have any defensive
us.
question, I'm like Scout and Sav, like I trust them. They got it. they've helped tremendously, and they are great. So I'm so happy to have her on.
Yeah, I'd be away at school and I'd just get a text from Kelsey. Can you draw up this
Yeah, I'm like, can you draw up this play that I have planned, or
Can you give me like a play-by-play of how to describe this?
Yeah.
And I'm like in class. I'm like, sure, why not?
Yeah, she's like, I got you. And then like literally like 5 minutes later, I have this little paragraph, and I'm like, perfect. I'll be at practice. I'm like, Scout said, and they're like, oh, it came from Scout. We're okay.
Exactly. All right. So, I guess a little intro of Scout. Not only is she Kelsey's girl crush, so Scout is a college field hockey player. She coaches with us in lacrosse, which is fun because you play lacrosse, but now you play field hockey. So interesting there. In my mind, at least, I feel like that's interesting.
Yeah.
And then I don't know. She's just cool. That's a more summed up version, I guess, of what you just said. But
You guys are really hyping me up.
why wouldn't we?
Why wouldn't we?
You're our guest. You're our first guest.
I know,
Nonetheless.
this is honored.
Exactly.
When I got a what was it? You guys asked me at practice if I would want to be on it.
Yeah.
And then I got a text asking if I would want to be on it like a day later. And then I got a formal call.
Yeah.
And it was like, we're formally asking you. I was like, I've said yes twice already.
Yes. No,
That's when I was on the treadmill
Yes.
doing my 9 miles. So again, watch the other episode. But I'm on like mile 6. I'm like blacking out. My
And you
legs are
called
just
me
moving
first.
at this point. Took me 5 minutes to figure out how to merge a call because
Yeah.
it wouldn't work.
I didn't even know you could do that.
Yeah.
And I literally didn't know either.
Yeah,
It
we
just
literally
said,
had a business call.
yeah, literally. And I'm like on the treadmill. I'm like huffing and puffing. I'm like, Scout, would you be on her? And she's like, yeah, guys, like, what's up? And I'm
she's
like,
all right, see ya.
yeah, she was like, all right, I gotta go. I'm like,
Yeah, I was on my way. I don't know where I was going. I was on
She was
my way.
like, yeah, I'll see you next week. Done.
And now we have it. So
Yes.
what do you want to talk about first? I know you came in with some ideas, so where do we
Yeah,
start?
well,
Where's our point?
I mean,
Anything you want to share? Sorry. Anything
I
you want to like
cut it
say?
off one more time.
This is exactly how Mac and I are also
Yeah.
because
I just
we
keep
both
talking.
we coach the same team for our club, and this is exactly how our dynamic goes. And we'll just be talking about
We just
who knows what, and then our kids will come up to us.
Yeah, and ask stupid questions.
Oh,
Just kidding.
I
They're
love
gonna
it.
watch.
They're gonna
this.
watch this. So we
They're
have
gonna
to
be like,
be
oh my god, we can't ask them.
No. You guys can
No,
ask
I
questions.
love your questions.
We love your questions. Sometimes the wording of them is a little silly. That's all I'll say on that.
Yeah, well, I'll start with what you mentioned. I play collegiate field hockey. I play at Mount Holyoke College, which is a Division III historically women's college. I absolutely love it. I cannot talk well enough about it enough. I'm gonna mess up my words so
That's okay.
much.
That's
We all
okay.
do.
We all do. You should watch
We've
our
been there.
first episode. I'm like, and they're like, huh?
No, we're good.
So yeah, I played lacrosse for 11, 12 years. I don't know. I lost track a while back. And I played for Guilford High School, which is in Connecticut. And it was awesome. We won a lot. It was great growing up in that
Powerhouse
Yeah.
of a team.
No,
Like
yeah.
she was
Speak on
on
it.
one of
Speak
the
on it.
best teams in the state.
Speak on it.
So that was a great experience. I got to be around so many strong female athletes. One of my teammates from that is playing on the U20 national team right now. Shout out Maddie Epke. I think she's the coolest person ever. I literally shout her out all the time. And she's going to Hong Kong to play for the World Cup, which is really cool. And then, as they mentioned before, lacrosse is going to be in the 2028 Olympics. So that'll be cool to see because we've grown up surrounded by those players that are now going to be playing there.
2028, do you think Maddie's gonna shop you in there?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Yeah.
She's in my bingo card.
My bingo card.
She's in my bingo card for sure.
So yeah, I played lacrosse for a really long time, and I grew up where we had to play 3 sports. Like you had to be a 3-sport athlete. My brother's a 3-sport athlete. My dad and mom were both athletes growing up, and so that was like the norm. That was what was expected. So I played. When middle school hit, I picked up field hockey. Hated it at first. I always make this joke. I went to a camp with my former high school coach, and I hated it and said I would never play field hockey again. And I was like, never. And I was in 2nd grade making this big decision. And now I'm a college field hockey athlete. So
Playing too, mind you. There's a notion that a lot of freshmen don't play. Like for me, when I was in college, I didn't play as a freshman. Girl plays. Like
Girl gets a minute.
girl's on the roster. She's doing it well.
So one of my decisions just came from I felt really burnt out with lacrosse. I had offers to play for lacrosse. I really thought for the longest time I was going to play lacrosse, and it just didn't work out for me because I felt this lack of community with my lacrosse team, I think, and I've talked about this, and I'm not going to speak ill of any of them because they made me the person I am today. But there was a lot of problems I had of how that team was and how the culture kind of impacted me, just because I felt very isolated as a queer athlete. I identify as a lesbian, and that was something that was really important for me to talk about and to be open about, but it wasn't always met with the most support, and I felt very lost at times. I actually said I was not going to play a sport unless I played at a women's college because I didn't like sharing the field with guys. I didn't like having like a lack of funding because the guys' teams needed this. They were more supported, but we were better. And I wanted to be in a place where I felt supported for my identity. And field hockey felt newer to me. I played it for less time. So that's kind of why I chose to play field hockey. But I adore coaching lacrosse. It brings me so much joy, no matter how much the kids drive me crazy.
The kids love Scout. Like,
Oh my god, they
love her.
love Scout. They're like, Coach Scout.
Yeah, they all want to, like, I notice it all the time that, like, they'll always, like, if they have a question, they always go to Scout first. And then if Scout is talking to somebody else because somebody else had a question, then they come to me. But, like, they always just want Scout's attention and, like, are obsessed. They're, like, obsessed with Scout. It's bad. Bad in a good way.
You have such a good group, though.
I have a really
you guys have a good group.
We have a good group of kids, and it's been great because I've coached a lot of them. Back when I was playing, I would like stay after for the younger session and help them. So I don't know, some of them they're rising 8th graders now, and I remember coaching them when they were like first starting out, like second grade, and I was like, I can't believe you're this old now. And that's, I guess, how you might feel. Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. That's kind of my little why I chose field hockey.
Yeah.
I guess.
All right. What's next? What should we talk about next?
Do you want to talk about and we can edit this too, Nick. This is what I'm saying while we brainstorm. We came with no notes, to be real with you guys.
Because, why would we come with notes?
We all three of us can just yap. So
Exactly.
I feel like
that's what I figured
we said this before too. We're like, how many times do you think our conversation will get derailed?
Too many.
A lot.
Something really interesting about Scout that I truly admire, and it doesn't make sense to me. So you know how there's people that are like, are you more left or right brain minded? And I'm like, I have a minor in journalism. Like, I am not like the mathematic Angly-esque type. Scout once said to me with the straightest face, I see the field in angles. And I was like, huh? And then it made sense. It all connected. And I was like, that is insane that your brain just like sees it that way. Like, I just see lines. I mean, I guess it's different because they're straight defense, but I was always an attacker. So like for me, it was like, get the ball, go, don't think, just shoot.
I
And like
was told once last year that attackers hate to think.
Yeah, we hate to think. If there's no thinking. Like the only thing that I need to think about when I get the ball, I don't think. Receiving the ball, don't think. Moving the ball, don't think. The only time I ever thought as an attacker was, where is this goalie positioned and how am I going to move her? That is the only time I think.
Well, I didn't start seeing the field like that until I started playing field hockey. And I tell pretty much everyone that they should play field hockey if they play lacrosse also, or soccer. Honestly, they're both very similar, but I always think you should be a multi-sport athlete. And I was talking with my college coach about this because she was like so frustrated about how so many athletes growing up are so specialized now. And like when I was growing up, everyone played multiple sports. You didn't become like specialized until high school.
Yeah.
But by playing another sport, even if you don't play it very seriously, you're going to get a different level of understanding of the field, regardless of what sport it is. So for field hockey, you are taught to pass flat and through, which is straight sideways and straight up. If you pass it diagonal, you're taught that that's going to be intercepted. You should not pass it diagonal.
Interesting.
And with defense, you should always approach with a C. Like those are the basics of field hockey. You approach as a C, right shoulder to right shoulder, because all field hockey players pretty much are righties. And so once I learned that aspect and like, okay, we're going to pass it up and then to switch fields, you pass it back, flat, and up again. And it's a box. And I was like, okay, I can take this to lacrosse.
Yeah.
And I can tell the kids that when they're passing it and when they're moving on angles, it's quicker to run diagonal, but it's a more effective pass to pass straight up and straight sideways because you're then cutting down the angle of the defender and you're making the defender work harder.
Interesting.
Yeah. So that's my. I
How-
also spent a lot of time in school. I had to write a paper for math.
She was an
for
IB
this-
student.
I was an IB, a full IB diploma student. If you don't know what that is, it was a lot of work. It's an international.
If you don't know what it
school
is, Scout might
program.
Twitch explaining it because it's a lot of work. I was only a part IB student.
I wasn't. I didn't do any of that.
So you have to write a paper for every class, and it's called your IA, or internal assessment. They got a lot of fun little ways to say things.
Yes.
But I wrote mine about the best. I say so much. Oh
That's
my
okay.
goodness.
That's okay.
I was practicing in the mirror. I was like, I can't say I can't do it. And here I am.
Then
But-
there's me and Seth. We're like, I don't give a.
Yeah,
we're just
Kelsey
yapping.
and I truly just be out here saying the most random
Yeah.
things.
We
in the
just
most
be
random
yapping.
ways. Yeah, we don't really practice.
There you go. I oh God.
It's bringing back bad memories. I can tell.
We're going to the vault. She's tucked
But-
these away for 2 years.
I have. So basically, you have to write a paper, and it has to involve math for the math one. And I wrote it based off of the best angles to take your free position shot from, and how much of the goal would be open based off of the different hashes of the 8-meter. And then
That's crazy. And then I think Maddie did the same.
Maddie did the same. She texted me one day. She's like, "What did you write for your math IA?" I was
Yeah,
like,
and
"This."
Maddie used that as hers.
Yeah, it's a really good one. I am not good at math, and I got a good grade
There you
for
go.
the most part.
Easy.
So yeah, I was always very focused in school and studying everything that I would spend so much time studying the game. So I would be in class, watching film, watching my opponent's games, when we got into the state tournament for both field hockey and lacrosse, and figuring out what the teams did, how I would attack it. And that's kind of how I coach too.
Mhm.
It's very purposeful. Try to make them have fun because I want them to like it. And I think Matt can agree where we both really want the kids to enjoy what they're doing.
Yeah.
The worst thing that can happen is when they burn out, like myself, and they just feel a lack of love for the sport and they feel it as more of a job. It should be a job, but you should have fun doing it.
Yeah.
And it shouldn't be a job when you're in middle school. It should,
Yeah.
or in high school, really. Only senior year, and if you decide to do it later on, people need to realize that your sport isn't your whole life.
Mm-hmm.
And no one ever told me that, so I thought it had to be my whole life. And I thought, if you want it to be, that's so cool, and go for it. But it doesn't have to be. That's the biggest thing for me, I think.
Let's yap about that for a hot
Yeah.
minute, because
Oh yeah. I got stuff to say about this.
so it's very interesting. So all three of us are lacrosse, women's lacrosse coaches. We've all coached at various of levels for that. I have the high schoolers and help out with the littles when I can. They have 7th graders or 8th.
They're going into
They're going into 8th.
They have rising 8th graders, but have also helped out with the littles. And when we say littles, it's our
I
youngest.
love calling them littles.
Yeah.
Everyone thinks it's so funny. I'm
No,
like, no,
we-
that's the language.
No, but it's weird because we all say littles, and everyone's
It's
like,
my
huh?
dad. My dad says littles.
Yeah, he says a lot of things. And our littlest of our little, isn't it so good? Capri Sun, please sponsor us.
And just keep grabbing.
It's so good. Our youngest is what? She's in what, first
She's
grade?
in 1st grade.
She's a rock star. She's really good for 1st grade. But it's so funny because we're like, all right, you got this, and then she'll make a really good catch and a really good throw, and then 2 seconds later she's playing in the grass, and I'm like, you gotta get up, girlfriend, come on, you got another hour, let's go. But I feel and correct me if I'm wrong, this is at least how I am, but I try to be so careful with how I coach to these kids now to not have them experience burnout, because as someone who's felt it, I didn't feel it until my freshman year of college, where I was just a robot going through my days. It was wake up, class, go to class, come back from class, practice. After practice, lift. After lift, team dinner. After team dinner, team study hall. After study hall, shower. Do it again the next day. And then sometimes there was 2-a-days and 3-a-days, and it was exhausting. So what are some ways that you have found that works and doesn't work, and trying to, be delicate with your coaching so that we're not being the type of coach that would like allow a kid to feel burnout. And it's very tough for me, at least when I do that, because, you know, I have like the athlete in me where like, this is how I was coached and this is what I want to do. But like, you can't, like the best thing I've ever heard was you can't coach kids you were once coached. You just can't do it now because everything's different. And I think it's great, but at the same time, it's like now we're navigating this new chapter, and it's frustrating because these kids expect us to just know everything. We like to think we know everything, but quite frankly, none of us are perfect. We're just figuring it out too. I can promise you 9 out of 10 times when you ask me a question, I like know half of the answer, and then the rest I'm like adding a little taste to.
Maddie said something the other day to me where she was like, I always just like think you know what you're talking about. I'll come to you with questions. And I was like, you play. You are like, she was like
breaking records too, mind you. Maddie is like chalking it up right now.
She's like, this is Maddie Olmstead. This is a different Maddie than what we were talking about before.
I started to name drop you first and last.
Hey Maddie,
Maddie,
love you. But she was saying something. She's like, oh, just like listen to Scout, like whatever Scout says, and I make
hear her
up
saying that.
I make up half of the crap that comes out of my mouth. Half of it is just like, I think this is what you should do. And then if it doesn't and I watch them, I'm like, actually, I lied to you. Don't do that.
Actually, I've done that a couple times where I'm like, I want you guys to do this. And then I see it and I'm like, I don't want you to ever do that. We're going to do this instead. And we're like, that looks better.
Well, one thing I told, sorry to interrupt.
No, you go. You go. You're the guest.
One thing,
I'll go after.
I don't know if you were here for this practice because you weren't there for the first two, but I told my kids, I was like, listen, you're all different and I don't expect you to adjust to me because I had always been taught that I have to adjust to whatever coach I have. And I think that causes a lack of understanding of yourself when you're an athlete. And it kind of forces you to put your feelings and your emotions on the back burner. So I told them all, I was like, listen, if you don't like a certain thing I do when I coach, come up and tell me and I can adjust it because it's my job to adjust to you and make this your best experience. It is not your job to feel like you can't come to me and tell me, hey, Coach Scout, I hate when you yell. If you don't like when I yell, I won't yell at you. That's completely fine. And I have other kids. And one kid told me the other day she thought it was funny when I got mad.
Yeah.
That was real. I was like, that's not what I was going for. But there are some kids that are like, no, I really like when I yell at you. And there's some kids that come off the field and they need a hug because they think they've messed up so much. I've given so many hugs this year. I don't like hugs. They come up, they're like, can I have a hug? Yeah, sure.
Scout sits with the
the side hug.
Wait, I didn't know that. I give you a hug like every practice when I see you.
There's some people, like, I don't mind you giving me a hug.
Because you're work wives.
Well, actually, this is a really fun fact. And it kind of deals with me being a queer athlete also.
Okay. No,
mind if I share?
Sure.
So I grew up, wasn't always like a really big fan of hugs. When I was younger, I really was. And then I got COVID really badly when I was a freshman in high school, or like summer 2020. And I had a really bad experience with it. Messed up my health a lot. Back to my baseline. I'm going strong now. It took a while, but I'm back. And because of that, I developed this really strong aversion to touch. Like, I didn't like touching people. I thought I was going to give them COVID every single time, or they were going to give me COVID. But also at that time, I was dealing with being very proud about my sexuality and being very open. But a lot of the language, and I think you can agree with this, a lot of the language we heard growing up as queer people, or just any representation, it was predatory, especially with being lesbian. And you hear it with the reasoning behind not wanting transgender people in the bathrooms is, I don't want them looking. I don't trust them. And that, as a young child, to hear that part of your identity is causing fear of another person's when you are quite literally a 14 or 15-year-old and you don't know what that means at all, is so damaging. So I refused to hug a lot of my teammates. I didn't like to. I felt like I was going to make them uncomfortable for just existing. And it wasn't until I got to school and I had this talk with my now roommate. I love her so much. She's helped me so much, and I think I've helped her. Her name's Alexina.
What up?
I'm going to send this to her.
What up?
And we were talking because neither one of us liked hugs, but then we started hugging each other and we started kind of being more affectionate with all of our friends and teammates. And I realized, oh, the reason I didn't like hugging as much was because I was always worried about making someone uncomfortable. And I realized that it's not my job to dictate their comfort levels with my sexuality. Like, I'm just allowed to exist in this space as my own person without worrying about you and how your feelings might get hurt. Your feelings are not going to get hurt. I'm not going to do, like, I'm a child, and I was a child, but to feel like, and I wonder if you can speak on this at all, but, like, to feel like you are a predator when you are 16 in a locker room. I stopped going in my locker room by my senior year because I was so anxious and because I had heard some things said about me, and it was very damaging. But I'm working on hugs now. That's my long-winded way of saying I'm working on hugs.
I give Scout a hug every time I see her.
No, it makes me so happy. You like run up to me. I'm like, I saw you 2 days ago.
I'm like, Scout, I missed you.
Well, for me, like, I kind of had a bit of an opposite experience. Like, I was, until I came out. So I came out.
I was going to say, talk about this because I've known Saf before she was out.
Yeah, so I came out.
You said you had so many boyfriends.
I did have a lot of boyfriends.
I never had a boyfriend.
I had,
she did have a lot of boyfriends.
I did.
One of them, I was just like,
yeah, they weren't the best. So I came out my senior year of high school, and
but we kind of knew.
Can I share my story?
Yes.
Please?
Sorry, safe space.
Thank you. So I came out my senior year of high school to, like, basically everybody, but I came out to my friends and my sister like a year before that because I had started dating a girl my junior year of high school. And the thing about my whole coming out experience was that, like, I felt like me being gay was wrong. Like, I shouldn't be gay. That's not what I'm here for. I'm a woman. I have to date a man. I have to get married. I have to have kids. Like, I have to do all this stuff. So because of that, in order to, like, suppress being gay, I was just like, I'm going to date men.
All the men.
I'm going to date men, and I'm always going to have a
Saf was rocking the men more than me.
I was. What can I say?
New man each week. No, I'm kidding.
Something like that, you know me. No. I'm in a very committed, very happy relationship right now. We've been in a relationship for over a year.
Jordan, we love you.
We love you, Jordan. She's going to watch this as well. I'm not shopping around.
I want to meet
as
her.
much was. Yeah.
Oh,
She'll be here in August. We can hang out.
Yes. She's great.
I'm leaving in August.
Okay, stop.
Enough of that.
So basically, because I grew up experiencing, like, being gay is wrong, or I grew up feeling like being gay was wrong, I was, like, overly, like, physical and intimate with all my boyfriends because I was like, I need to prove to the world that I like men. I'm gonna hold their hands. I'm gonna, like, we're gonna kiss. We're gonna do stuff. Like, we were gonna be like that. And then when I came out and started to, like, be with women, I realized that, like, the feelings that I felt when I was, like, kissing a guy or, like, holding their hand or, like, being a girlfriend to them, like, I didn't, like, the love and, like, the way I felt was so different when I started being with women. And, like, for me with lacrosse, like, I went to a Catholic high school, so automatically being a gay kid or a queer student,
boom, target.
It's tough and it's scary. And I remember, so back to my senior year, I was dating a different girl at that time, not Jordan. I was dating a girl who we don't talk about anymore because she was not very nice to me. I was dating a different girl, and I basically, like, had to go to my high school's principal and be like, I'm taking my girlfriend to prom. And he was like,
I remember when me and Flo got these messages, and it was this huge thing. I remember this.
Yeah, so I took my girlfriend at the time to prom, and I basically was like, I'm taking her to prom, please. And they were like, yeah, you can take her to prom, but just, like, don't say you're taking a girl to prom. And it has to be labeled as, like, you're taking a friend. Which I was like, whatever, better than nothing. But then the following year, they said, like, explicitly in, like, the prom rules, like, you cannot take a same-sex date. So I was like, I did it. It was me. But playing lacrosse in high school, at a Catholic high school, and my high school also played in the toughest conference in Connecticut, in the FCAC.
Also,
shout out FCAC.
Yeah, also another powerhouse high school. We all played on powerhouse high school teams.
Yeah, we're all kind of good.
I only did mine for 2 years because I had to leave my bad high school to get to the powerhouse high school.
Yeah. So I went through a lot of times with lacrosse, and I had some teammates. I had a lot of teammates who were supportive, and some teammates who weren't, which, you know, happens. Nobody ever kind of expressed that they felt uncomfortable around me, but I could definitely tell that, like, they didn't want to interact with me. They didn't want to be in my shuttle lines. Like, they didn't want to be part of my, like, if we were playing sevens, they didn't want to be the person right next to me. Like, it was weird stuff like that. And I'm just going to jump back to when we were talking about, like, coaching and stuff. For me, like, when I was playing lacrosse, I always kind of felt like I love this sport so much. Why doesn't it love me back? Because like I went through so much with my high school team of being like we were really good. We'd get to states, we'd get to like the semis and we'd lose. Or like we jumped from my senior year, we jumped from S to M, and then we had to play Daniel Hand. And I was like, we're gonna get smoked. Like, what is this? And then like when I was in college and I played club, my club team was supposed to go to nationals, and then COVID happened, and then I didn't have 2 seasons of college lacrosse, and then my senior year, we didn't have a coach anymore. So I was always just like, why do I love this sport so much, and it's never giving me anything back in return? Because I was always like, please, I just want something. I just want something good. And it's like the sport of lacrosse is not all about wins and losses. Like it's given me so much in terms of just like being a human and like how to be a human and how to like
It shaped
work
me
together.
to who I am.
Yeah.
Shape me.
But I was always just like, why doesn't lacrosse love me back as much as I love lacrosse? So when I'm coaching, I'm really kind of because sometimes when I'm coaching, I get frustrated very easily.
Really?
I really do. It's a really bad quirk about me. I get really frustrated really easily. So there are a lot of
You're on the sidelines. They're not doing something right. You're like, come on.
I know.
So
My big one is I like just put my head up and I hold my clipboard. And
I had that a lot this season with her.
And I just have to take a minute and be
She's
like,
like running up and down the sidelines.
I
I'm
mean,
just standing by the
are
box.
both pacers. I do
Yeah, we
sit at the
pace.
box though.
I've stopped being a pacer because you're a pacer, and I feel like they don't need 2 pacers.
yeah, we don't need to be running up and down the field so
Yeah.
much. But anyways, so when I'm coaching, I'm very particular about like just being like a person of I'm here for you. I'm here to help you. If you don't want my help, that's fine. If you want to just play lacrosse and do your thing, do your thing. Because like you were saying, like I don't want them to burn out. I don't want them to eventually like hate the sport and not want to play anymore. Because I know so many of our players from when I coach with you and when I coach with you, they just love the sport of lacrosse.
Yeah, it's so great to see, but at the same time, I had kids come up to me at the beginning of the season, like I almost quit during my town season. I'm like, okay, we're not doing that. We're gonna go full
different
way.
route.
Let's run it back.
Let's do it.
I've had so many kids say that too. They're like, I got my reviews back, and one of them was just like, I used to dread coming to practice, and now I'm considering playing in college.
Yeah,
And I was just
Yeah.
like, whew. I always tell
it's
my
something that
I did, and that's truly why. I mean, they will testify. I literally said this to them before. We had a little GT before we got on.
Oh yeah.
And I was just like, last night I questioned why I'm coaching.
Yeah.
It was just one of those practices, and then you take a step back, you breathe, and you're like, this is why I'm coaching, because there's so much more to it. Like, yeah, I could chalk you up a play. Sure, I could teach you how to shoot. I could teach you how to shoot pretty fast too, probably. But if I could teach you how to be a better human and be comfortable with yourself and others and just like little life lessons along the way, that's why I do it. I love nothing more. Like so specialize in recruiting and like getting these kids to college. And I love when that commitment post comes out. I'm like, oh, we did it. We could breathe again. I just had one.
Sorry.
We were talking about recruiting. It was Kai. I feel like I shouldn't have said her name. I try not to say any of them, but it was her, and it was like 3 years in the making.
Yeah,
3. She had a reclass. She trusted me. It worked.
She trusted the process.
She trusted the process wholeheartedly, and it worked. But it's like when that post came out, I got the call. I was at my coworker's going away party. I get a FaceTime from her. I knew she was on her official visit, and it's her mom, and me, and just tears. We were all 3 of us.
So
we were just
beautiful.
like, oh my gosh, like
Perfect.
we did it. Like we could breathe again. Like and they're just thanking me, and I'm like, don't thank me. Like this was
did
you. Like you did this. They're like, no, like you changed my kid. You helped her so much. And then even she's like, you shaped me. Like you gave me this opportunity. And I'm like, I just saw it in you. Because at that age, like you don't see it. I literally just saw it in you, and I just guided you along the way. And that's why we do it. That's why I keep pushing.
And I think too, like with like the life lessons and stuff. Like at our last tournament, we were warming up. Do you remember this? And one of our players comes up to us. And,
oh my god, I was just going to talk about that.
Yes. So one of our players came up to Scott and I were talking, and one of them came up to us.
I adore this girl.
And yeah, she's a good kid.
I can't say that.
Okay,
But there was another team we were supposed to play. It wasn't the team we were preparing to play, but we were going to play them later. And she was like, they have a boy on their team. Like, what are we gonna do? And Scout was, you can take it over from here. But Scout,
I
and I kind of just looked at each other. And we were
I
like,
had seen this player that they were talking about come in, and don't want to assume their gender or anything. They had shorter, like really short hair, and like I clocked them right away. I was like, okay, I know there's something like there.
Which is such, not to cut you off, but like that's such a thing in the lacrosse world because like the hair, the braid hair, like the braiding hair at turn, how you like the bubble. I hate that this is inverted. The bubble braids, the bun, the power buns, the braids, like it is a lacrosse thing. Like everyone's looking like, how's the hair?
Yeah, the hair tells you how.
Or a headband. If you
the headband.
The pre-wrap.
The pre-wrap.
Like, if it's just like this, or if it's rolled, that tells you a lot of things.
Yes, yeah.
But I had seen this kid, and I actually was preparing for a question like this, and I think I handled it pretty well. I was pretty proud of myself. Our player comes up to me, and she was like, "We're gonna play a boy," and I was like, well, we don't want to assume anyone's gender. We don't want to assume anyone's identity. And we want to make sure that this is a space where everyone is comfortable to express themselves the way they are. Because you like to express yourself the way you are. This one girl has if she watches it, she's going to know it's her. I won't specify any other information though.
There we go. Yeah.
But this girl has her own quirks that she loves. And I was like, listen, you don't want to be the reason why anyone feels.
I just found out who it was based off of that.
You don't want to be the reason anyone feels uncomfortable. Like, you want to create a space where everyone feels comfortable, and then you judge them based on how they play lacrosse. Because if you play against them, then you get to judge them. Oh, they're a really good player. Great. Doesn't matter what they look like. Oh, they can't catch the ball. Doesn't matter what they look like. Doesn't matter how anyone identifies themselves or how anyone presents their identity to you, as long as you are respectful to them. And I think that's the biggest thing. And also, I loved seeing that kid because I wasn't confident enough to just be myself when I was their age. And I think about, I don't know if you guys know this, but obviously everyone knows Sue Bird, and she's married. Love her. She's married to Megan Rapinoe.
Woo!
And
love that.
Sav loves that.
Love.
She was wearing a Megan Rapinoe shirt in the last episode.
Really?
I love it.
I watched a little bit of it the last
My
episode.
girlfriend went to her last game because her last game was in at Soldier Field in Chicago. Yeah, so she was the one who picked up that shirt.
That's tough. That's so tough.
But when Sue Bird started out playing, she was told that she had to keep up these appearances of looking like the girl next door. That's what she was labeled. So she had to have her hair straight, and it had to be cut to here, and she had to wear like straight girl outfits and appear to be like this girl that every guy wanted. And that was the only way she was going to get sponsorships, and that was the only way she was ever going to be respected. Which is so upsetting.
Bothers
but
me.
I didn't know that until recently, actually.
That bothers me.
And when you hear about that, and then you look at like old media day pictures, like you can tell that's like how that's how she was supposed to be. She's got a Barbie though. That's cool.
That's so cool.
She did. That's tough. I saw that.
But having that be your representation when you are a young queer child growing up in athletics, it's so disheartening. And then on the flip side, you have Megan Rapinoe, who was very open about her sexuality, very open about appearing the way her sexuality stereotypically made her look. But when people had negative things to say about Megan Rapinoe, it always came back to her looks. It always came back to, she's shoving her sexuality in my face. Like, why can't she just be quiet about it? We don't ask straight people why they can't just be quiet about why they're straight.
Mm-hmm.
Every single conversation is always, okay, who are you dating? What's your boyfriend? I remember sitting with a group of my teammates, and they were all talking about what the most attractive sport is.
I remember you telling me this.
And I was just sitting there, and I was like not really out to my teammates, but I was out to everyone else. And that's not, you never say that straight people are shoving their sexuality in your face if they're making you uncomfortable. But it's very common to use that language when describing queer people. So I always found that really interesting, that was people's biggest problem with Megan.
Yeah.
But Sue was told to keep her stuff on the inside, and then she got famous enough that she didn't have to care.
And she said,
bye. But that shouldn't have to happen. You shouldn't be held back based off of your appearance and based off of who you love.
Yeah.
And I'm just trying to teach our kids that.
Yeah.
I had a girl last year. This is my shirt. Can I stand up?
There
we go.
Yeah.
This is my Play Beyond sweatshirt. Kelsey told me to wear it today. I love this sweatshirt.
Not that I tell people like what to wear, but I was like, this would be really good to wear for this podcast.
It's
too bad you can't see it.
You can't see it.
Too bad my really cool mic is in the way.
But it's an Athlete Ally sweatshirt, and I didn't know about Athlete Ally until I committed to the school I go to. And that's because one of the assistant coaches is one of like the research people. She's very important, actually. Head athlete ally. And so I immediately was like, yes, I'm going to buy this. And I wore it to a practice last year for summer league. And one of my kids came up to me, and I was an assistant coach last year. She came up to me and she was like, I really like your sweatshirt. And she was really nervous. I was like, thank you. I wear it because, like, and I had a planned out thing I was going to say, because you're told not to rub your sexuality in their faces and don't, like, talk about your personal life. And that makes sense. Don't talk about your personal life. But I was like, thank you. I wear it because I think everyone should be supported and everyone should have this space where they can feel welcome and comfortable in what they love to do. And she goes, I think I like boys and girls. And this is this girl who's the same age as me when I figured out my sexuality and like figured out I was different. And immediately I was like, oh, okay. I made someone comfortable enough to tell me.
Scott's got it.
I was like, that's great. Thank you for telling me. I'm so proud of you. If you ever need anything, like, you can come up to me. She's like, thanks. I really liked saying that to someone. Aww. And I was so happy. Yeah. And I was just like, okay, this is why I do it. This is why I'm loud and obnoxious about who I am and what I love and who I love, because I want no one to feel the way I did growing up, where I felt like I was a joke, kind of, which is so sad. And they both heard stories about kind of situations that I went through where it just felt like I was the butt of every joke. And that also deterred me from lacrosse.
And I'm more than happy to have Scout on another one just because we love her so much, but like, we can do even more of a deeper dive of what it's like to be coaches, because like we said before, it's not just, all right, we're going to make you better lacrosse players. Like, I think being a coach, it's so underrated that people think that we're just out there just chalking it up with them having fun. Like, yes, we try our damn best too, but like, people don't realize that, especially at the level that we're coaching, and at least for me and like even you guys at that age, it's such a delicate phase in their life that we are often their very first point person with anything. And like, at least for me, like working at the school that I work at and like having my recruits and my kids, like anytime anything, I'm the first person. And I love it. I really do. Like, I will go to bat to these kids no matter what, but people don't realize that it's more to just, all right, I'll see you at the field. Yeah, there's a lot more to it.
I went through a really difficult time my second semester at school, and I remember being really upset one night, calling with my one friend, calling our captain. She came over to my dorm, and immediately I was like, can you text coach? Like, can you text our coach and can we set up a meeting to talk about this? And I then spent so much time in her office just because I felt so comfortable. She knew what I was going through in an athletic sense, and then also was able to help me in a personal sense. But she was what I needed in that moment. And I love her so much. And she's tough, and I like the way she coaches, but she also is the one who kind of made it known to me that, like, you can adjust your coaching style based off of what a kid needs.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah. She's still hard.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, oh yeah. I ask my kids all the time. I have kids on my team that are like, I need you to yell at me. Like, one of our middies last year on my team was like, I need you to yell at me when I get off the field. And then the other one was like, I need you to not look at me because I already know that I made the mistake. And I was like, I got it.
Yeah, and I think what I'm learning a lot with coaching with you guys and just like all of the women that we work with is that
we're all badass.
Well, we're all badass.
No, truly,
my high school lacrosse coach was a guy. My growing up, my soccer coach was always a guy. Like, I didn't really have a real full-time female head coach until I played high school hockey. My coach was a woman, and then when I played on my club team in college, my coach was also a woman. And those were like the only moments where I was like, I feel close to my coach. Like, I feel like this is somebody I can go to and talk to. Like, my hockey coach, like, low-key scared the fuck out of me. She was intense, but she always had in our locker room we had like a hallway that led to the door, and the hallway was her office. So if you ever needed anything, you could step into her office and just like talk to her.
That's cute.
So like, she always made it feel like very welcoming and just like cool. But like, I always felt like my high school coach, like, he was a good coach. He was very hard, and like, he would always, like, he would break clipboards, and like, he would be frustrated very easily. He'd take his hat off and slam it on the ground. Or he would be like, why didn't you get the ground ball? And I'd be like, well, this girl was like holding my stick. He'd be like, I don't care. You should be getting the ball. We shouldn't be getting beat
I
up.
wasn't actually asking.
And I was like, sorry, I can't control that. And
I'm so happy John was not like that for me. Like oh my god.
But also, I will
think
say
that
there
would've
have been
broke me.
times, the early days. So all three of us played for the club that we all coach. The early days, I'm older than both of them. I'm an old lady. So the early days of it, the girls program was just high school, and you had to have finished, like you had to be a rising sophomore in order to join.
I was the first class that was youth. That's when I started.
I was the youngest.
Yeah, so you
Fun
joined,
fact.
you joined just because you were nasty, and
Yeah,
even though
but
you were a rising 8th grader or a rising.
I was rising 8th grader, and they had me playing on the high school team
Yes.
with you and a girl that was committed like Division 1 at the time,
Mhm.
and I was like shitting bricks.
Yeah.
I was like, mind you, I was the same fucking height I am now. I haven't grown, so I'm like 5'1", and the girl going D1 is like 6'2".
Yeah, she was big. But we had coaches during that time that were not nice and
No.
just like not good for us, and like didn't like take into consideration like anything about just like being a 14-year-old. You know what I mean? Like being a young person is hard enough, and it's not helpful when you have a coach that's just like on you about like doing some stuff. And there was a moment in a game where I like just like couldn't handle it anymore, and I like threw the ball. This was. Do you remember the Vermont tournament we used to
How
go
could
to?
I forget?
So it was at the Vermont tournament, and I just like I had the ball on my stick. We were losing by like 20 probably, and I just
bent over.
and I just took the ball and threw it and like got off the field, and she like whipped me a new one. She was so upset with me, and I was like, I can't like take it. Like I can't do this with you. I was like so upset. I like didn't want to do anything but go home after the tournament.
Mhm.
And at that moment, there was another moment where I was like, I love this sport so much. Why doesn't it love me back?
Yeah.
It's because I had a coach who didn't like appreciate anything that we were trying to do. I don't know. Just a little aside. So Kelsey and Scout and I don't do that because that's not the way to coach. And like you were saying, like don't coach how you were coached.
Mhm.
Yeah, because I don't want to be that person who's just like, you're done, get off.
You're
Can
done.
I add something really quickly? I
Yeah.
know we're almost out of time.
Yeah, we're good.
But so the club we all coached for, I literally played my entire life. Started as a 4th grader, played until my last year, and now I'm back coaching for it. But my dad is the director of the club.
This man did a 180 on the club. I freaking love him.
Yeah.
And I think that's because he watched me grow up, and I was very quiet about how I felt about the sport because I didn't want to disappoint him. You never want to disappoint your parents or your coach, and he was both. So I grew up, and then I started kind of opening up more as I got to be a high schooler and being like, I'm not really loving this because I don't like the way my coach runs things. I don't like this one coach that I had. And I just don't feel like I'm a valued member. And I don't like being coached by people that are so much older than me. Like, I just don't feel a connection to them. And now listening to him every single time he talks, he works, his like office is in our kitchen. He has an office, by the way. He has one. He doesn't use it. So you hear everything. But he talks about how he wants to bring on younger female coaches. And he made a point, I think there's maybe 3-4 male coaches in the entire club. And there's
he trusts
there's
us
like 11
wholeheartedly.
female coaches.
Yeah, he trusts us, and it's amazing. Every conversation I've ever had, he's like, you have the reins. He's like, you got it.
And he'll come back and he'll talk to me about things, and he'll talk about, so what is different about like being a female athlete. And that's a really important distinction. That's something that's very important to understand. And I still explain things to him. He's like, really? Like, I explained to him, this is so TMI, but I explained to him the other day that you lift differently based off of where you are in your period cycle.
Yes.
And he was like, what? I was like, so I didn't lift heavy today at all. But
Yeah.
like last week I PR'd on 3 of my lifts.
Mhm.
And he's like, I didn't know that. And I was like, yeah, you don't know these things.
Yeah,
Or like,
because how would you know those
right.
things?
But I really appreciate that he comes to me with a bunch of questions, and he's kind of opened up this space where he wants female coaches to take control because he wants strong role models for all these kids. I love him. He's great.
Yeah,
We love you. JC, we love you.
Yeah, because really quickly too, like Kelsey and I, after we graduated from high school, both of us, we were both like, we want to coach with this club.
I don't want to coach for any other club. I've been asked by 2 different clubs, and I don't want to do it.
Yeah.
I say no to both of them. As soon as I got this job, they asked me. They're like, "Can you come over?" And I said no.
Yeah, we wanted to coach with them for so long, but it was I don't even remember really like why we couldn't do it. So it's nice now that like there's somebody in charge who like is welcoming to like all of us. And I think another good thing too is that like I was not like a real college athlete. Like I was a club athlete.
You're
But,
a real
like-
college athlete. That's a real college athlete.
I agree it's a real, but some people are like, oh, you didn't play like on the real like team, and I'm like, no, sorry. I used to feel like I had to lie and be like, oh yeah, you know, I played. I was on the real team. Just don't look it up. But it's nice that all levels of like playing and like some of our coaches play Division I, some of our coaches play club. Some of our coaches don't play lacrosse.
Don't play
anymore.
lacrosse. That's a hard thing for me, actually. I feel so self-conscious about that. The fact that I don't play in college.
But you're all right.
But they love you either way.
But yeah. I know we're so like running out of
It's
time.
okay. There's no time.
We're gonna do a part 2 with Scout because we have
We're
so
coming
much
back.
to say.
But I coached. So last year I was an assistant coach for younger kids. And then Kelsey was like, can you come help me run my defense? And these girls that she was coaching
Oh, this
were
is funny.
a year younger than me. I played with most of them growing up.
But they're all responsive.
Yeah, but I
But
was
they all
like,
answer
Kelsey,
you.
they're not going to listen to me. They don't know what's happening. And you like stopped them in a practice. You're like, you're going to listen to her.
Yep.
She is a multi-time state champion
Yeah.
in multiple sports.
Yep.
And she deserves your respect. And I was like, oh, okay. Thanks, Kels.
And I think they listen. I don't know.
I do too. Because you were always the kid for me. Like, I was like, oh my God, Kelsey's talking to me. Like,
Oh my
when you-
God! Don't even say that.
Because
Don't
when I was like a kid, you were I definitely knew you, but I don't like remember it.
That's okay.
But Kelsey just always stuck around, and she was at the CA camp, which is when I started to really remember lacrosse things. But
That's such like a pinch me moment that you just said that. But also your dad said something similar too. He was just like, you need to realize that some of the people that you're coaching now, he was like, when they were younger than you were, it was like your age group, like
Yeah.
even like with like Lauren and Maddie. And like Maddie said this one time to me, she was like, you need to know that like you as a coach here, like you were the one that these kids were watching.
yeah,
And he was like, you were on the other field and they were all looking at you. And I was like,
yeah, our kids, we have a lot of kids that on our team that are from my town. And I think that's awesome. I think that's great because when I grew up, I was the only one from my town on my club team. But they came up to me and they were like, oh my God, like I watched you. Well, they first thought I was 24. And then I was like, no. And then they're like, oh my God, I watched you play last year because I just graduated high school last year. Oh my God, I watched you in the state championship. I was there for your senior night. Like I high-fived you as you walked out. And that was so cool, but also like, oh my God. And then they get surprised when I can play lacrosse, which is always great.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys
There
so
we
much
go.
for listening. Sorry this one was longer. We're gonna have to do a part 2. We have so much to say.
I hope you guys enjoyed watching me fix my hair 17,000 times.
Everybody say thank you, Scout. Thank you, Scout. Thank you for
Everyone
coming.
drink a sip of water every
Or
time
Capri
Scout
Sun.
said
Capri
Yes. Or every time they were talking and I looked at the camera and went like this.
It's okay, she looks great. No, truly, Scout, thank you so much for being our first guest. There was no other
I'm so
person I
excited.
wanted. I hope you weren't too nervous. You were nervous, but like I hope
I
it
was
was
nervous,
okay.
but I settled down as it
Yeah.
went on.
Yeah.
It's natural.
Because I just yap about this stuff anyways, and my friends don't care.
We're so passionate about it. And oh yeah, this is great. Thank you guys so much. You can find this. I think we're releasing on Saturday because
Yep.
we're all gonna be in Massachusetts this weekend.
For a
coaching.
tournament.
Last tournament in the summer.
Yes, we're all gonna be just chopping it up in the hotel room.
We do
So-
a game changer vlog.
oh my god, we should do a game changer
GC
vlog with
vlog.
her.
We should.
Ooh,
Let's do it.
We can
Nick,
do it on Saturday.
you like that?
Because we're all playing on Saturday.
Let's do it.
I know. Well, we can even start it tomorrow night because we'll all be like, "This is us."
Yeah.
I'm not.
No, you're not there tomorrow night.
What's tomorrow?
Friday.
You are there
I am
tomorrow
tomorrow night.
night. I was gonna say you're
I was
gonna
like,
drive
you
up there
just
for
asked-
8 a.m.
You also just asked to drive me, so
You're right.
when were you gonna bring me?
I fell down the stairs sometimes, and my brain is not
I
okay.
remember when you fell down the stairs and you
Sorry for different times.
that is a hot mess.
Sometimes my brain is not working.
Also,
Seth fell down the
tournaments are
stairs.
So fun too.
Yeah, oh
Those
yeah.
tournaments are a lot
Because
of fun.
the kids try to find our hotel rooms.
Yes.
And we put a little D&D on that and we have fun.
Yes.
So thank you guys so much. Appreciate it. You can follow us. This is getting released on Saturday. Please follow Scout at Scout Climbing. Follow us at Game Changers ETB on all social media platforms. And then you could also hit us with the follow on our Instagrams and all that. I'm Kelsey Darcy, and she is Mackenzie Meaney. And we appreciate you guys. And break.
We're done. See ya.